So I'm just going to go over a few basic points because many people say they're looking for funds when I speak to them. And these are things I feel is easily, readily available online, but they would not have sought it. So I just thought I'll take like a minute or two to go over these things. So in 3 minutes, I'd like to cover a list of funding sources that you can consider, a checklist that you'd definitely need to use before you start seeking funds, a hypothesis that, or the reasoning behind why you think you would be able to get funds, and of course, like how much of that reasoning is actually proven. So based on whether you're running your company is predominantly product based or service based, the type of funding would slightly vary. Simply because when you're product based, it takes a while for you to start seeing profits, whereas when you're service based, there's higher chance that you will start making returns as your company grows. So you don't need to wait for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years to hit operational break even or something like that. So I've just listed out a couple of things. You guys can screenshot this if it would help. And there are many social startups nowadays, and what the social startups I feel have not realized is that they need to think like any other company, and they need to make sure that they are also running sustainably. So when you reach out to any grant bodies or donation bodies that are willing to give out funds to you, they are also going to look at you from an investment point of view. So are you actually going to have self-sustained revenue when you're trying to provide your services? So it is literally the same as product and service, except you might have certain organizations who specifically look out for social startups to fund. So here's the checklist. So before you walk into a negotiation, there are two things that are very important. So the first thing is you need to know what is it that you want in the negotiation. And the second thing is what is the least you can walk away with and still have yourself whole, right? So these are two very important points in a negotiation. And apart from that, you will definitely have to know how much money you need and how you're going to spend that money. So if you don't have a plan on how you're going to spend the money and you just say, I want X amount of money, I'm going to spend it on sales and marketing, like nobody's going to give it to you. So you need to ask these questions. And apart from just money, you may also need additional things that you can leverage, like a network or an existing retail chain, or say you're looking for some kind of a talent or a specific skill set. So you would need that from the investor. So you need to know, apart from money, what else do you need when you're looking for funds. So coming to the hypothesis, I'm sure most of you would have read Eric Rice's book on lean startup. So this is derived from there. So essentially, you're talking about what is the value your product or service is delivering to the customer and how you plan on bringing in more customers. So very simply put, it's like I produce apples, and apple is worth $1. And my customers are going to grow at a rate of 100 every month. So at the end of like 12 months, I'll have $1,200 of apples sold or something like that. So this is the kind of hypothesis that you essentially make. And as a part of your growth hypothesis, you would have to do like a slightly more detailed breakdown on how exactly do you think you would grow. And in terms of value hypothesis, you'll also have to provide proof as to why you think your product or service is that valuable. So that is where traction comes in. So how much of your hypothesis actually has been verified? So when anyone invests in you, they're investing for your future potential. So if you're looking at a graph, they're extrapolating that graph. So there should be some amount of traction already that they can extrapolate on. So unless you're showing that little bit of traction, you would find it very hard to raise funds. So if you're trying to go to raise funds without proving that you have traction, you would probably want to start listing down what are the assumptions that you've made that are currently not validated. So if you made some assumption that your company will grow, and you've just made an assumption, so just list down that these are the assumptions that I've made that are not proven yet. So you can actually have starting points on how to actually get that traction, or how to prove that this is where your company will grow, or this is the value that your company can bring or your product can bring. So I'd like to leave you with this small quote. So this is by Jack London. I don't know if you guys have read Call of the Wild and White Fang, but those are the first storybooks that I ever read. And he says, you can't wait for inspiration. You'll have to go after it with a club. So if you want something, you really just have to go get it. So feel free to reach out to your friends, to our network, reach out to me, and we'd surely be able to help you to raise the funds you need to make your dreams into reality and make your startup a success.